Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's vBrown Bag. I'm your host, Tom Green, and tonight we're going to be talking about upgrading VMware vSphere 6.7 and 6.5. To help us with that discussion, we're going to be joined by Nigel Hickey. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. We're very active on social media. You can find us at vBrownBag and at the other regional vBrownBag hashtags. You can also tweet to me, and I'll ask the questions live to Nigel, or if you tweet to hashtag vBrownBag after the show, one of us will get back to you and we'll make sure that you get your questions answered. We love interactive sessions, so if you can tweet to us or use the chat questions bar, that'd be great. We have shows all around the world in different time zones, so if you go to vbrownbag.com/brownbags, you can check out the latest schedule and get signed up for those. With that said, it's time to hand it over to the man of the hour. Nigel, I want to introduce yourself and take it away.
Hey, what's up, everybody in vBrownBag world? This is Nigel Hickey, aka vCenter Nerd on Twitter, and we're going to talk about some upgrades on vSphere tonight, as well as some of the features that came with 6.7.
Great, thanks. Let me make you presenter here, and
Alrighty.
I'll let you know when I can see your screen.
Should be able to see something there.
Yep, good to go.
All right, so again, we'll jump right into this. Let's see if this works. Yes, it does. There I am. All right, so real quick on me, I'm Nigel Hickey, technical market engineer at VMware in the vSphere upgrade team. A couple of hashtag Nigel facts, not as cool as Kyle Ruddy facts, I'm sure, but we'll throw them out there. Yes, I used to DJ. Everybody asks that question. Used to be a Horizon guy. Now I'm in the vSphere upgrade team, so that's what we're looking at talking about tonight. All right, so let's kick this off. The biggest thing that is front and foremost in my mind this year is vSphere 5.5 and end of life. So end of life for general support is 9/19 of 2018 this year. And you'll see up on the screen here our knowledge base article 51491. And this is basically telling you all the details you need to know about the end of support, as well as the extended support program that VMware offers. At the bottom there, you'll see a link, and I think these slides will obviously be shared on the video, but may be able to get these slides to y'all as well. But that link will take you to our lifecycle page. That lifecycle page is super valuable, so you're going to see every VMware product that's out there from the time it was released as GA all the way through its expiration and sunsetting. So important information there to start off with vSphere and upgrades and getting off of that 5.5 into a 6.5 or a 6.7, hopefully.
I just snipped that. I'll get it out on Twitter and in the show notes for you.
Sweet. A little bit of news we'll start off with first. So one of my favorite slides, Windows vCenter. So bye-bye. So Windows vCenter in 6.7 will be the final release of the Windows vCenter server. So if folks are still on that Windows vCenter server, we want to see those folks migrating off of that to the VCSA appliance. Also, our favorite Flash client is also deprecated. So we should be hearing cheers from the crowd for that, unless you're really torn and love the fact of Adobe giving you a hard time. I suggest moving on to our vSphere client for HTML5. That is going to be our standard client for vSphere. So with 6.7 coming out just about a month or so back, a lot of new features were released. So up on the screen here, you'll see just some key features that came with 6.7. Not all of the features, but just some enhancements that we want to point out. So the VCSA is now our default install of the vCenter server, and because of that, it's been engineered a lot recently, and the performance is just 2-3 times faster, even just from 6.5 to 6.7. That VCSA is just really a great thing to have over that Windows vCenter. And compared to the Windows vCenter, you're probably looking at more than 2 or 3 times. And just to point out again, that Windows vCenter, there's no more features being added to that. So anytime you hear about a new feature in vCenter or performance gain, it's really going to be talking about the vCenter Server appliance. Some other features that we'll touch on a little bit tonight also are vSphere Quick Boot and single reboot upgrade. So we're removing one of the upgrades. So normally you would, when during an upgrade, you'd reboot your host, and then you do an upgrade and then reboot your host again. So with single reboot upgrade, we're going to be able to get rid of that first reboot. And that's going to help customers that are using or moving from 6.5 to 6.7 that that reboot is removed. Also support for native 4K storage. And if you joined the vBrownBag last week, you probably heard Mike Foley talk about virtual TPM, TPM 2.0, Microsoft VBS, as well as we have encrypted cross-center vMotion now. On the application side, there's been enhancements for NVIDIA Grid and the GPUs that NVIDIA has. So not a true vMotion just yet, but what we're able to do now is able to pause a workload that is attached, or a VM workload that's attached to a Grid GPU, and then move that through a vMotion. And that's done through an API right now. It's not in the GUI yet in 6.7, but I believe that we're going to see that pretty soon in the future, probably all come back together as one proper vMotion. vSphere Persistent Memory is a new memory technology that's basically bringing, it's using memory as storage. So that's a great new technology that's out as well that we're leveraging. There's been some updates for vSphere integrated containers, as well as instant cloning. So if you're familiar with Horizon, on Horizon we had VM Fork, which turned into instant cloning. The instant cloning has now been rewritten to work for vSphere, so that technology can now be leveraged at the vSphere level, at the data center side. And that is also just an API command line feature right now until it is moved into the GUI. On the cloud side, we have per VM EVC. So instead of setting your EVC settings on your host, you can set that at a per VM level. So that's nice when you're moving your workloads to other systems that may not have matching CPUs and so forth, as well as hybrid link mode, connecting on-premises out to a cloud platform such as VMware Cloud on AWS. So in 6.5, we came out with our native built-in vCenter Server appliance backup. In 6.7, it's been enhanced. So if you notice from the screen here, there's a lot more information that is on this VAMI. So you'll see a backup tab now. There's a scheduled backup procedure, a retention option, and you'll be able to view backup activities as well. So this supports a VCSA and a PSC, and it doesn't matter if you're in an embedded deployment or an external deployment. So if that PSC is external to the vCenter server or embedded, both are supported for your backups. Also, with the backup, we've also got a better restore screen here. Now you'll be able to browse and restore files like you can see on the screen. This also works for embedded linked mode with reconciliation. It retains the identity of the VCSA, so that's good as well. One of the features here that was brought in, I guess, in the older version, you had to kind of browse for your stuff and back and restore. This makes it a lot easier. It's all in the same interface. So flexible patching, I really like this feature. If you're familiar with this in the VAMI, you would hit at the top corner there, check updates. And what would happen is you would get the latest update that was available in the repository, right? Now we're able to display more of those updates. So you'll see fixes in there and upgrades. It could be a 6.7 patch. It could be that patch is an update or an update with an A or a B or a C. Instead of just getting the most recent that's available, you'll have a choice now from this VAMI screen. So monthly patches will come at about a 30-day cadence, obviously monthly, but we're able to do that faster now that we have the operating system in-house, the Photon OS that the VCSA runs on. So that is definitely helpful as well. So vSphere upgrade. So one of the most important things that I get to talk about when we're talking about vSphere upgrades is almost a read the manual situation, right? What you see on the screen here is a ton of information. I know it's only four objects there: release notes, KB articles, our documentation, as well as the compatibility guide. I feel that customers that are using vSphere really need to pay attention to these four pillars, basically. Product release notes have been improved a lot over the years. There's a lot of great information in those release notes. You'll find sections about upgrades. You'll find issues or known issues in there as well. Something to review. There may be a bug fix that's coming. There may be a bug fix that's been fixed from another version, 6.5 and so forth, into 6.7. But what we want to point out here is that product release notes are going to have the guidance that you need for starting that upgrade. It may have even links out to this other documentation. Because hardware is also changing, in those release notes, you'll find deprecated pieces of hardware. So in 6.5 and 6.7, a lot of CPUs had been deprecated. Most of them had hit that 7-year mark, so they have listed for deprecation. But pay attention to that. If you're doing an upgrade on current hardware and you're not doing a hardware refresh, that's going to be really important to pay attention to. And with that, the compatibility guides. The compatibility guides can also go through and check your hardware. If you're doing a hardware vendor, a motherboard size or model, checking all that stuff out to make sure it is compatible on the HCL is going to be your friend. vSphere documentation, sure, we've all been in the documentation before. I feel that it's gotten a lot better. I do like the new features now, which is called My Library, where I can save a piece of documentation and come back to it and not have to search again and remember or kind of Google real quick what I need. And knowledge base articles, of course. There's a ton of knowledge base articles. I'm also going to have a slide tonight that will have some popular articles that revolve around 6.5, 6.7, as well as upgrades and helpful hints there. So. And here we are talking about it already. So I'll leave this up on the screen here for a moment, but these are going to be just a quick curated list, information that you need to know before upgrading vSphere. And then we have our new links up there for 6.7. There's also links out there for 6.5. Upgrade policies. One of the big things that I like to point out here is the upgrade or update sequence for vSphere and compatible products. So that third bullet, that's really key because there's a lot of times I come across a customer that may not know the correct procedure, if it's first, second, or third, or when do I upgrade the host, or when do I upgrade vCenter, and what about Horizon, and what about my NSX, or what about another vRealize operations, or something that's in their environment. So this KB is super important. Now, with that said, when we're talking about vSphere upgrades, we're doing our PSCs and our vCenters first, and then we're moving on to our hosts. But in that model or in that knowledge base article, that vCenter upgrade is only not only, but it's at least number 7 or 8 on the list. So there is another set of VMware products that need to be upgraded prior to, if you have those products in your environment. So again, planning is key, making sure you're checking all these knowledge base articles, you're checking the compatibility of the current hardware you have, you're checking the compatibility of the other software that you have from VMware, or even third-party software, especially backups. I know this has come up a lot recently. There's some backup companies that are compatible so far with 6.7, and there's some that are not. I won't name any of those companies, but just please pay attention to that stuff. We wouldn't want to see a customer upgrade to a version that they would be stuck and not be able to back up their software or their virtual machines. Another one here is supported and deprecated topologies for vSphere. Now, for 6.5 and 6.7, this kind of stays the same. There's a couple topologies that have changed in 6.7, but this is an important document to review. Some customers are on 5.5 and 6.0 trying to move to 6.5 and 6.7. In the 6.0 realm, some topologies, if that's an embedded node or external node for vCenter and PSC, may have existed and been supported back in the 6.0 days and have been deprecated since then. So pay attention to that. That's something you want to make sure that you know your topology and you're able to design before you start pushing the buttons to get your upgrade going. Oh, I skipped a little bit there. Hold on, sorry about that. Also, the last couple there, upgrade paths for vSAN. There's a specific article for that. You can also access that in the matrix for upgrade path. And VMFS 5 data stores into 6. This was a 6.5 thing, still applies for 6.7. That VMFS data store is not as easy as just right-clicking on the data store and upgrading any longer. Will take a little bit more action of creating a VMFS 6 data store and then evacuating your VMFS 5 data store. There's some Power CLI commands that can be helpful for that as well. Documentation, of course, we had talked about that previously. So, so here's, yeah, go ahead.
Will VCSA 6.7 run / be supported on ESXi 6.5?
So could the vCenter be 6.7 and the host 6.5? Is that what?
Yeah, I think yes.
Yeah, yes, that is fine. My suggestion is to always, get the host to the same level as your vCenter, but understandably, I know that some customers will move the vCenter first, so that's fine. There is a limitation on 6.7 though. If you were to go all the way to a vCenter or VCSA 6.7 and you still had a 5.5 host, sorry, Charlie, right? You cannot see those hosts that are 5.5 if you're all the way that far. So don't get too far ahead of yourself, but if you have to be 1 or 2 clicks above, just make sure that you're not too far ahead.
Yeah, Graham says he has CPU issues, so they can't upgrade all the way. So.
Okay, so there may be some, so that's come up too, where the vCenter server you can upgrade, but maybe the hardware, there's a compatibility issue on the hardware side and you're waiting for like a swap out or a refresh.
Great, thanks.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. 5.5, we'll talk about that first. There is no version of 5.5 that can get directly to 6.7. So there's no supported upgrade path, and there will not be for that. We kind of have an N-2 policy where 2 versions behind is okay, but 5.5 is a little bit further back. So any version of 6.0 can go to 6.7, and 6.5 and 6.5 update 1 can go to 6.7. Now the last one is 6.5 update 2, which just came out about 2-3 weeks ago, and that has no path to get to 6.7. Now, if you're familiar with how we've done things in the past at VMware with some of the upgrades and updates, they kind of work in parallel. So this would be a back in time upgrade if we allowed this. vSphere 6.7 GA'd first, and then update 2 for 6.5 came out second, so it was newer. So this would be considered what's called a back-in-time upgrade. 6.5 update 2 can also include, or it does include, some new security fixes and patches that may not have been in the GA release. So if we were to allow that, you'd kind of be in a weird situation where you wouldn't get all the updates that you needed. But stay tuned for that. If I was someone who could see the future, I'm sure that we will have a way out of that. It's not a lock in there forever. So back to planning again. So within the vSphere interoperability matrix, this screenshot is from the upgrade path tab. And what we've done here is pull up the vCenter, and we can see what's going on and what path or what version we can move from and to. And you'll notice here, like we mentioned before, any version of 5.5 is not able to go to 6.7. And so you'll see that one we just talked about, that update 3 that had an issue going to 6.5. So the KB that's listed there is, if you don't know how to use this matrix, that's the KB that'll teach you how to use the matrix. This is also where you can put in your products. So this is important to put in products like Horizon or NSX and compare them against what version of vCenter and ESXi that you're going to, if it's 6.5 or 6.7, and making sure that it's compatible. If you had noticed on day 1, there was some things like Horizon and NSX and vSphere integrated containers and vSphere integrated OpenStack that had no support on day 1. Most of those have been fixed, but just definitely refer back to the interoperability matrix, and that will give you what the deal is. So this is kind of like a pre-upgrade and considerations, just an example of planning and how you should go through that thought process and steps. So definitely first, I know some of these KBs you'll see are for 6.5 and 6.7. Some of them have been updated to include 6.7, and some are there's some newer ones that will be coming out for 6.7 if they're not out already. So knowing your topology. So are you in an embedded deployment? Are you in an external deployment? And that would mean, did I want enhanced link mode? Well, in 6.5 and 6.0, enhanced link mode was achieved by having external platform services and controllers and then pointing your vCenter server at that. Check compatibility on the compatibility matrix. We talked about that definitely for our solutions at VMware, as well as third-party solutions. Those backups, again, do you have a monitoring solution that is maybe not compatible yet with the next version that you're going to? Pay attention to those things. You wouldn't want to get too far in and find out that you shot yourself in the foot possibly. Compatibility guide, again, we'll talk about that quite a bit. vCenter server backups, of course, backups. And we're not talking snapshots here, folks, right? So get those proper backups done. And that's really going to be key, especially if you are on a Windows vCenter and you're looking to migrate to the VCSA. Make sure those backups are good. Make sure you can restore from them, and you have a way to get out of a situation if you need to back out for any reason. Environmental health checks. So prior to any upgrade, you should be giving yourself that doctor visit of your environment. If that's doing it yourself, maybe you have a VMware partner that you work with, or even you're reaching out to VMware themselves to help out with that. There's lots of things in the community. There's lots of scripts out there from PowerCLI, and Alan Renouf has a great one for VCheck. There's RV Tools that is pretty simple, but if you need a more in-depth health check, that's where you probably want to reach out to a VMware partner or VMware to help out with that and get that holistic view of what's going on in your environment. Maybe there's a misconfiguration that you can't see from vCenter or vSphere, and it's behind the scenes, it's storage or network, and something that could impact your upgrade. So you want to make sure you do that full doctor checkup on your systems. Windows vCenter, yeah, let's get that thing migrated. Let's get over to the appliance. Let's say goodbye to Windows. Let's save the license. It's not even about the license anymore. It's just about the awesomeness of that vCenter server appliance. And then map out your upgrade components in order. So that's the other thing we talked about earlier. Get the order down. What am I doing first? Do I have other products in my environment? Do I need to upgrade my backup systems first before I upgrade my vSphere? You know, find those things out and plan and get that order together. Just like building a house, you know, you start with your foundation, your blueprints, and then you move on from there. And get familiar with the new features within 6.5 and 6.7. There'll be some product walkthroughs that have been updated for 6.7, as well as I think there's some hands-on labs that will be getting updated soon for 6.7. That may be closer to conference time, so we'll see how that works out. But I know that our teams are working on some new hands-on labs to facilitate 6.7 as well. And of course, familiarize yourself with all the management interfaces. Of course, we have a bunch up here from the appliance management interface, HTML5, which is our default client nowadays, and the PSE interface and the web client that is dying off. So if you haven't seen those in 6.5 and you're still in the 5.5 days, check those out before moving forward. So the upgrade process, again, this is probably one of my favorite slides because it's just simple and it goes through, you know, the steps. What do I need to do first? I've seen people blog about doing the host first and then coming back and doing the vCenter second. I really try to encourage folks and customers to not do that. You could get too far into a situation where the host is too new or upgraded, and you kind of, you know, have to start over at that point, and it's not going to be fun for you. So step one is always going to be your SSO if you're on 5.5, and your PSEs if you're on 6.0 and higher. And that's if you're external. So if you're set up externally, you do those first in an upgrade. If you're embedded deployment where the vCenter has the SSO with the same virtual machine and the PSE services on the same machine, then it happens automatically, and your first step is the vCenter server. Of course, the next step will be your hypervisor or your hosts. Then you should move on to virtual machine, VMware tools, and compatibility. Also, be cautious of compatibility. Just because the newest version 14 has come out with 6.7 doesn't mean that you have to go to that. That's something that you'll have to pay attention to based off of the operating system that you're upgrading or what that server's workload and job is. There could be issues going that far forward for some situations. It's kind of like ripping the motherboard out of the virtual machine and replacing it, and we all know that that could be an issue. So, you know, verify the version that you want to go to, and then maybe set that standard, and so you know that you're getting the right flexibility with your virtual machine and taking on some new features that you might need. The fifth step should be your storage, your VMFS data stores, and upgrading those. And the last one that everybody seems to forget, or at least I've seen folks forget, is the network, right? We always blame the network first, but we're forgetting to get that VDS switch upgraded. Another thing to point out about the network here is if you are planning on using a version of vSphere 6.5 or 6.7 to connect to a service such as the VMware Cloud on AWS, you're going to need that network updated. If you don't update that, that network's not going to know how to communicate. So definitely a good point there to watch out for.
So we have some comments going on here.
Sure.
Emod says per VM EVC requires VM compatibility 14 in vSphere 6.7.
Yes, it does.
And Graham says, is there going to be an upgrade path from 6.5 external PSC for linked mode to embedded linked mode in 6.7?
That's a great question. So the general answer is that should be coming.
Cool, thanks. It's a good feature request. Thanks, Graham.
Yeah, definitely. Feature requests are great. So the installation and upgrade screen. So this is just a quick look at the install ISO. So this has been updated with our Clarity UI. So the same user interface that you see in the HTML5 client, and you'll start to see across other products within the VMware family are starting to use this Clarity UI. So super clean, really nice, easy to use. with 6.7, there's also been the remove of SSO site for embedded deployments. So the removal of the site construct is helpful because in 6.7 that will allow some repointing of the of the PSEs. The vCenters can be repointed to different PSEs in different sites since the site construct has been removed. And again, the embedded deployment for 6.5 U2 and 6.7 GA is supported in Greenfield. So that would be a net new installation or an extended. So if you had a deployment that was 6.5 embedded and you were excited to move over to 6.7 and stay embedded, when you brought over another node, you should be able to join that to a deployment for enhanced link mode. So that's a really cool new feature, but a lot of that's going to be around Greenfield deployment. Batch CLI, what that means is in 6.7 there's a batch CLI process where you can deploy multiple vCenters from multiple JSON files and point that as a batch, so you could deploy multiples all the time instead of one at a time. So it's a nice feature from the command line. Again, we kind of talked about this just briefly in the last slide, but with the new vCenter server 6.7, the embedded PSC and enhanced link mode are supported again in Greenfield deployment. Supports the same maximums as the external deployment did. No load balancer required there. For level of things are still required in the web client, and that's going to be that 5% leftover that we're hoping to see completed by fall of this year at 100%. So if you need to do update manager configuration changes, VMware tools and hardware updates, as well as viewing the events and notifications about update manager, you're still going to need to go back to the web client. And also indicating which hosts are set up for quick boot or disabling quick boot. You're still going to have to come over to the old school Flash client to configure that. So what you'll see here in this little demo is Update Manager's interface. What it's doing here is doing a search for the ID, and it's going to pull up a 6.5 release here. And then you can see that you can also just do your images from there and set up your baselines. So a really clean interface, a lot nicer than what we had before in the Flash world. And then there's an Updates tab. So on the Updates tab, you'll be able to see that from the cluster view as well. And you can see what your host levels are, if your hosts are all compliant. You can check compliance from there, and you can go straight back to Update Manager Home, or even attach and detach and stage directly from that Update tab for all of your hosts. In 6.7, we have another feature we talked about at the beginning of the hour for two different scenarios here: single reboot upgrade and quick boot. So single reboot upgrade applies to 6.5 hosts, and that's going to be a faster upgrade process because we're getting rid of that first reboot on your way to 6.7. Quick boot is going to apply to hosts that are already on 6.7, and this will cause, well, not cause, but it will give you the advantage of faster patching and minimize your maintenance windows when you're patching 6.7 or another version of VXSI that comes out if it's a full upgrade. It'll be a quick boot on there as well, I believe. And I say I believe, I haven't had a new version to test on that yet. So single reboot for major version upgrades. So the Update Manager upgrades the host to the latest version, and the destination version must be the current version of the vSphere, not an older release. So the way it works is you upload your ISO, attach your baseline to the cluster, and then you can remediate from there. In 6.5 and earlier, the hosts are rebooted before and after, like I had mentioned, and then going forward, this is going to remove that reboot. 6.0 they're still going to reboot twice. So we can't help that. So we really would like to see folks get over to 6.5 and 6.7 to reap the benefits of these great new reboot features. So we have a quick little demo on this little animated screen here coming up, and what we'll see is it's two different clusters that are upgrading. One's called Web Apps and one's called Development. One's on 6.0 and one's on 6.5. So the 6.5 cluster, you'll notice in the short animation, will finish a lot quicker, and it took over about a half an hour to get that cluster upgraded. And in that half an hour, you'll notice that the 6.0 is still running, and that took quite a bit of time longer. But definitely going to make version upgrades a lot faster, at least 4 times here. So you'll see on the screen here, just a moment. There we go. So we're looking at that, and you'll see that 2 hosts are already updated, 6 are still going, and the development cluster had already been completed at this point by the time it got to the 3rd host. And this is it just finishing up, and as it's finishing up, you see it's got 1 host left up there, and we're just going to go and hit the refresh button at the top of the screen. And we should see all, yeah, there we go. We see all of our hosts at 6.7 now. So that just quick little, view. It doesn't really give a good example, but a nice, look at what that kind of plays out to be. So I'll let that play one more time here.
So we do have some questions that came in over the last little bit. Is there any update on load balancers that are supported?
So load balancers are still the same 3 that are supported in 6.5 as well as 6.7. So that would be NSX, NetScaler, and F5.
All right.
I've heard of other things working, but they're definitely not supported.
And vCenter permission export and import from common vCenter in 6.7 for individual vCenter?
I'm not sure. So you're talking about like exporting permissions, like from the GUI, I guess, instead of like CLI.
Deepak, if you can clarify, I'll run it back by him.
Yeah, if not, I can always take that offline and we can get an answer for him too. I like to make sure that I don't leave anyone hanging too far.
And import from Emad, import of historical data. The background is only for external databases with Windows vCenter. There may not be any impact, depends on what's going on with the vCenter.
Oh, okay, good. So I think Emad is adding to what I had talked about, so I really appreciate that. Thanks, Emad. Those are some key features that live in the realm that Emad works with vCenter, so I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy.
And then last, is there anything the HTML5 client does not include? You may have already covered this.
So I think I covered a little bit, but it's going to be some of the features that we see in Update Manager. I want to say there's a couple other features out there. I can probably share it with you, Tom, to put out later. There is a knowledge base article that will point to a page of all of the updates that have happened to the HTML5. So you'll see the dates that it came out, like this came out in 6.5 and this came out in 6.7 and so forth. And you'll also see what's not in there yet. So it's a nice view, and that gets updated. So I think the link has still got a 6.5 tag in the link, but it's relevant to 6.5 and 6.7. So
yeah, if you want to shoot that to me, I'll tweet it out.
Yeah, we'll share that out. That's good info too.
All right, thanks.
Cool. So quick boot. So quick boot is when the hypervisor restarts without rebooting the hardware. This can be huge for larger data centers that are updating and not, they don't want to wait for that 15-minute reboot or whatever their server takes to reboot, because the hypervisor starts super fast. on this, and definitely shortens your maintenance window. So the requirements are going to be limited right now. There's a short list of Dell and HPE systems that support this. VMware is working with other OEMs to make sure that they get on board, and because it touches some of the hardware and BIOS, it just has to be validated between those vendors as well. So we hope to see more of those joining the system. But as of today, it's going to be, I want to say, the Dell 14 series of the systems. And on the HPs, I'm not sure the models are out there if it was the Gen 10s or not, but that's something to check out as well. Secure Boot, to note, is not supported. If you have it set up as, if you're looking to do Secure Boot can't work or does not work just now with Quick Boot. I'm not sure if that was something that would change in the future or not, but definitely not supported with Quick Boot. So there's a little demo here as well. 2 hosts running 6.7. One's doing the default configuration with Quick Boot enabled, and the other one has Quick Boot turned off. So the Update Manager kicks off the installation, requires a reboot, and then this is what happens. We'll see on the next screen. You'll notice it's super fast. So on the left-hand side is the hypervisor rebooting on one server, and it's about done, and you'll see the Dell EMC side is still booting the hardware. And there you go, the hypervisor is rebooted on the left on 6.7 while we're still loading the hypervisor on the other system. So definitely a time savings. I know some servers are quite a bit longer than this, and if you have clusters with thousands, this is absolutely going to speed up your reboot times on your host. So we'll let that play out one more time here. I wish my lab at home booted that fast.
Yeah, you're telling me. I've just run on a couple of NUCs.
I got the old baby dragons. So I know we had some questions, and the conversation tonight is more general around, you know, upgrades and the features that come with 6.7 that can help or enable your upgrade. I know we didn't dive too deep into, you know, the upgrade process, but if there's anyone out there that needs help answering some questions, or you have you know, some curiosity around that, I'm absolutely available to answer questions and things like that as we go through tonight, or even after tonight. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, I can help with that if it's upgrade paths, or, you know, I'm on this version, can I go to this version, and we can get a little deeper if we need to, or maybe we even have a deeper session on Brown Bag another day where we actually kind of go through, you know, maybe screen by screen. So that's kind of like the goal there. So I just want to bring up some other additional resources before we finish out here. So there's this great new ebook that our friend Imad worked really hard on for upgrading to vSphere 6.5. It's some great information in the book going through planning and through preparation and all the way through the execution of the upgrade. And there's some different scenarios in there as well with other components involved. So definitely check that out. I don't know if you want to grab that link too, you could throw that out there. I'm probably going to say, I think there's a name capture on that, so I'll just give you the heads up on that, but it will let you download the PDF. Now with the 6.5 book out, we will be coming out with a 6.7 book. We're looking to have that ready for conference time at VMworld, so we should have another book that helps with the scenarios for 6.7 as well. Another site that we'd like to talk about that's sometimes unknown is vSphere Central. So vSphereCentral.vmware.com. Great site of vSphere resources. So you're going to see blogs, knowledge base articles, some videos, and definitely product walkthroughs. This is a really convenient space to work from. You can export the data that's in here into a PDF to read offline or take it with you. But as you see on the screen here, if you're interested in security or vCenter server or even hosts, you can click on each of those titles and it will drill down into a plethora of information, and you can follow through things like on this next screen, there's walkthroughs. So if you wanted to see the vCenter server appliance migration from a 6 into a 6.5 or so forth, and there's going to be new walkthroughs that are out there. I think there's some that have been done by Ahmad for backup and restore recently for 6.7. I believe also David Stamen had put out one, and I'm personally working on a couple as well from 6.0 and 6.5 into 6.7 for upgrades. So these walkthroughs are nice, screen by screen, gets you that comfortable feeling of what's going on before you actually, go through it. And number 7, that's everybody's favorite, right? Certificates. Okay, you should check that one out. So another resource is the vSphere topology and planning tool. So this is a browser-based online tool. You don't have to install anything. Go ahead and hit the URL. It'll take you out to the site. It's going to ask you some key decisions. So do you want enhanced link mode, yes or no? And if you answer yes, it's going to give you suggestions for your external PSCs and 6.5. Now this tool is really focused on 6 and 6.5 topology up to 6.5 update 1. 6.5 update 2 is not included in this tool, and neither is 6.7. This tool is also being updated and should be ready for release around VMware as well. So my team is specifically working on this tool to make it better for our next versions, or include the next versions in there. So definitely a great, easy, freebie tool to go through. There's also a spot where you can put in your email address, and it will kick off the list of everything on the web page to you, as well as links to documentation. So it's pretty crazy. Good stuff. And then I like to throw up my brothers on the screen here. So Ahmad, Adam, Kyle, Mike, everybody in the community pretty much knows these guys. The Lightboard video series, very popular. I mean, even before I had joined VMware and I was still on the customer and partner side, I shared these videos a lot with customers because just so valuable to see guys write backwards. So no kidding. So Ahmad and Adam cover a lot of great stuff between vCenter, SSO domains, consolidation of SSO, vCenter high availability, certificates, so forth. Obviously, Kyle is our automation and CLI guy, and Mike Foley, as we saw last week, he's our security guru. So I know there's some new videos that have come out. We'll be probably working on some other ones as well. I believe Mike has some new videos out on Lightboard for 6.7, or they're coming soon. I know that he's been working to get those updated. So some great content and easy to follow. I mean, it's not boring. It's really, really good stuff, and it makes sense. So. And with that, we're kind of at the end of the time here, but I'm open to any questions that I can help to answer around upgrade or anything that we covered tonight. If anyone's still poking around in there, has some questions for me, Tom?
I'm checking the hashtag now. Chat's pretty clear. Let's see. I was capturing all of your things for the show notes and lost track of a tab. All right. I think everything's been clear. We've got another comment about exporting and importing permissions from GUI for vCenter.
Okay. Now I've done some stuff on the Horizon days where I've imported, exported some permissions and roles through PowerCLI. I don't know off top if that's something that's in the GUI in 6.7. I haven't explored that or had that kind of pop up to say that's there, but we could take that offline if we want to share. Just hit me on Twitter with the person. I can kind of follow through with that as well.
Yeah, there's some good scripts out there. I've had to do it from vCenter. No, there's some PowerCLI scripts that you can search for and find them pretty easy.
That's what I ended up doing. I was doing a Horizon deployment, and it was a ton of stuff that we just needed. It wasn't worth recreating. It was just worth the 10 seconds of running the script and getting everything exported. So it was nice.
And with that, I think we're all clear.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining V Brown Bag. Again, I am Nigel Hickey, at vCenter Nerd on Twitter. Stalk me, bother me, ask me questions about Upgrade, and I will guide you.
Great, thanks. And thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you next week.